everybody. Welcome back to Airport Madness 3D. Well, I have to confess, this isn't really going to be about Airport Madness 3D because Big Fat Simulations has announced Volume 2 of Airport Madness 3D coming up in November. And Big Fat Simulations has also announced the 8 airports that will be in Volume 2 of Airport Madness 3D. Now, Volume 2, listen carefully, will have to be purchased separately. But along with 8 airports immediately, not having to wait every a couple of months for more airports, there will also be some additional updates on both Airport Madness 3D and Volume 2 that include features like emergencies, nighttime, new aircraft, and the developer says likely a career mode. Curious to see what that is like. So we have the 8 airports, and what I'd like to do in this special episode of Airport Madness 3D is just go through the airports, show you the maps of what they look like in real life, and talk about how I think they might play in Volume 2. I have no inside information on what the developer is going to do with this, but I'll just react to what I see and what the airport is like. This is JFK, New York City's John F. Kennedy Airport. It was in World Edition with just the 2 runways parallel to the or on either side of the terminal. The tricky part of that in World Edition was that there were a lot of gates, way more gates than. I'm wrong. There were only 4 gates, and yet 2 runways. You could bring arrivals in all day and departures out all day, but the gates kind of held things up, if I recall correctly. We'll see if I'm right about that or not. It'd be interesting to see what the developer does with this. If he's going to include all 4 runways, what would the 2 configurations be if that's part of it? Here's a picture of the airport, the way it looks from the chair in the sky. That one runway that crosses both of the other runways is going to be an interesting challenge if those are active at the same time. Again, I have no inside information on this. I'm only reacting to the way the airport is in real life and what I might have seen in other versions of Airport Madness. So it remains to be seen. I like JFK if I recall correctly, but I didn't like that there weren't very many gates. Now he promises more gates, so that will be interesting. The next airport is an interesting one, Toronto Pearson. I'm not familiar with this airport at all, but it looks pretty challenging with 5 runways. Judging from Boston and some of the other airports in 3D, I'm guessing the developer will make all 5 runways available, but you'll only be able to use maybe 3 at a time. I'm not sure how that configuration will work either, but I'm pretty sure the developer has that all figured out. You can see some potential situations and a lot of taxiway problems, and I think you're going to have that in JFK too. The taxiways are long and far apart and complicated and may involve crossing several runways. Something that drives me a little bit crazy. Single runway airports and a lot of crosses are my Achilles heel in Airport Madness. Always have been, and 3D is no exception. Here's what the airport actually looks like. I'm not sure how recent a picture this is, but look at all those taxiways that you might have to use to get to, especially those 2 airports off to the left here, or those 2 runways off to the left here. How do you get airplanes to that? It doesn't look like you can go around. Well, you might be able to go around here. No, I don't think that'll work. I think you're going to have to cross here. And then get to these runways, and way down to this one is going to be kind of a nightmare. If there's going to be more gates, I'm guessing that the gates will be spread around here. So that will be very interesting to see, and quite a challenge. The next airport is one that I know was requested by even some of my subscribers, I believe, Miami International Airport. Again, I'm not familiar with this airport either. I've only landed in Orlando. I don't think I've ever landed in Miami. But some people have asked for it, and I can see, these 2 crossing runways here. I hate runways that meet at the end, toward the end. The Toronto airport from 3D drove me awfully crazy because it came together in a V. They didn't even cross; they just came right together. Two parallel runways would be nice. If there's only four runways, I wonder if he will use all four in just both directions, or how he's gonna configure that. Here's a little nicer looking picture of it. The official pictures are are fine, and so we've got looks like 30 or 12, 27 or 9, and 2 6 left, 2 6 right, or 8 left, 8 right. I wouldn't be surprised if all four runways are active and he just switches ends in the two configurations. Um, so it looks like what might happen to me. Next in our list of 8 airports in Volume 2 is one I know the folks in the UK enjoy, but this is London City Airport. A little bit of a curve the developer threw at us. A one runway airport in the middle of downtown London. I suspect that the planes come in, follow the Thames River in, and just dart over to the runway when they get there, ankle over to it, which is kind of a safe way to bring planes in because there isn't a whole lot of other stuff going on the river. Although there are some high things along the river that may require some tricky maneuvering. But for a controller, it's just one runway. I keep thinking, gosh, one runway is more simple. You don't have so much to keep track of. But you go to traffic rate 10 on one runway, and you're a busy air traffic controller because getting those things lined up right and separated is kind of a nightmare. San Francisco was one of the first airports. I think it was the first airport announced. I call it the hashtag airport because doesn't it look like that? Two parallel runways crossing in the middle. This was the scene of an Air Canada near Air Canada disaster, where a plane was supposed to be landing on 28 right, but instead lined up on taxiway C right here. No, this is the wrong direction, isn't it? But it was the equivalent of this anyway. Um, and only found out only was issued a go around at the last second. He came within 50 to 100 feet of crashing onto planes on the taxiway. But it's an interesting airport to run. It's if it gets busy, you've got a lot of stuff going on, and good luck with crosses. You almost need to just limit yourself to the two parallel runways at any one time, and hope you can get traffic directed to the right place. The next airport is the most interesting one, I think, in the history of airport madness. It is Lukla in Nepal. Lukla is a fairly short runway that starts at a mountain and ends in a cliff, pretty much. I think it looks like there's only room for 4 planes at a time. There's no gate, it's just a parking area. You'll see that in a second. I have several pictures of it because this airport fascinates me. If you want to get a good thrill, look up Lukla, Nepal on YouTube, and you'll see some footage of planes landing. They come in here, land on this end of the runway, and try to stop by the end. Sometimes no, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. They come in the other way usually, and come up the hill here, and then just turn right into this parking lot. When they take off at the top of the hill here and go down to the end, and and then they hit this cliff. Planes that come in here, there have been a couple of crashes when they come up a little short. I even saw a guy playing Flight Simulator 10, and he did the same thing. He came up a little short and kind of bounced and crashed nose first right about here. So it's a tricky airport. You're basically coming down through some very high mountains, I guess, and just threading your way in, and it looks like there's nothing there, and then all of a sudden this runway shows up. Here's this is an early drawing from the developer of what Lukla Nepal is going to look like. I think we may have one more like that as well. I'd forgotten this was here, but this is going to be kind of what it looks like. It just looks scary, doesn't it? Looks like there's a couple of gates there, maybe. Yeah, it's gonna be a thrill. Oh boy. All right, the next airport down to 2 more. This is Hong Kong. Um, and it's Czechopkok, the main airport now. It is not the old one. Some people wanted that, but it's the new one, on an island basically. Just two parallel runways. I kind of like that. I think that could be interesting. The airport looks really nice. It has some interesting architecture, and I'm sure the developer's going to do a great job of capturing that. LAX, the first time I saw that, just it took my breath away. I was just not prepared for that, but it looks really, really nice. And Rick 9G, good friend of mine, as you know, lives in LA, and he really loved the way LAX looked as well. So here's Hong Kong, the main airport, incredibly busy airport. At least it was, and I assume it still is because Hong Kong is just a busy place. There's a lot of people coming and going there. And finally, is Chicago O'Hare, the airport I love to hate in real life, and I don't think it's going to be any different in Airport Madness 3D. Look at all these runways. I have no idea how many runways the developer's actually going to include. But again, judging from Airport Madness 3D Volume 1, he'll include a lot of them, probably at least 6 of them, and give you a configuration of 3. Look at all those crossing runways. Chicago O'Hare is just a terribly busy airport, and it's kind of crowded in the middle, in the middle of Chicago. And look at that mess. I don't. Maybe that explains why Chicago O'Hare seems so disorganized. And I just hope that I run Chicago O'Hare better than it's run in real life. That's all I can say. A lot of people are very excited about Chicago O'Hare being included in Volume 2. They're looking forward to it, and I am too, because it's going to be a challenge. No matter what the developer does with it, I think it's going to be an interesting airport to play, and I'm looking forward to that, along with all 8 of those airports. I think they're going to be great, great challenge, a lot of fun, and very frustrating as well. That's what's in Volume 2 of Airport Madness 3, coming out in November. Looking forward to it, waiting and waiting to be able to play those airports, and also looking forward to things like emergencies, night, new aircraft, and a career mode in both volumes of Airport Madness 3D. Thank you so much for watching. I welcome new subscribers, and join me next time when Tenacious Viking plays Airport Madness 3D.